Hey guys, welcome to another video. So, in this video, I am going to be speaking English. You will practice your listening while I practice my speaking because today I'm going to talk about books. So, if you like reading, good, keep watching this video. And if you don't like reading that much, just, keep watching as well because that way you practice at least your listening, right? This video is going to be an extra challenge for me because I'm going to talk about books and I've never done it before. I have talked about books but in Portuguese, which is my mother tongue, and not in English. So I'm going to just try to tell you guys a little bit about why I like these books without, trying my best not to give you any spoilers. So let's just get started. So guys, the first book I'm going to show you is Memórias Póstumas de Brás Cubas. It's a classic, Brazilian classic book because it's written by Machado de Assis, and it's basically him, the main character, telling his story, since back when he was a child up until his adulthood. It's basically him telling all his memories, and it's amazing that we can always take something away from them. We can always learn something with those stories that he's telling. Another thing that I think adds up to this book being a classic one is because it's not shallow, it's deep. All things he explains about life, it's all deep with deep meanings. So yeah, it's not a shallow little book. It's a really good book, and I definitely recommend you, especially if you're Brazilian, please read this book. That has been one of the greatest books that came from Brazil so far. One thing I love about this book is the chapter 4, I believe. It's basically where he tells us about his delirium when he's already too old and he's very sick and he has a delirium, and he tells us how he simply traveled through time and he saw the mother nature, that part where the mother nature just says a lot of things about us human beings, and I just think that is one of my favorite parts on this book. Alright guys, so since we're still talking about Machado de Assis, one of my favorite books by him is Helena, I don't know, I think not a lot of people know this book, not a lot of people have read this book before, but it's my favorite book by Machado. I just think this book is perfect. It's amazing. I love this book so much. It's basically about this girl, Helena, whose father died, and before he died, he left a letter where he tells his family that he has a daughter because his family did not know, and that he wants his family to adopt this girl and just treat her well as a part of the family, and that's his biggest wish. And Helena is just flawless. She's perfect. She has many virtues. She can do a lot of things. What nobody knows is that she carries a lot of things. She has a long baggage. What do I mean by that? Basically that she's not a simple girl. She has a lot of secrets, and nobody knows that. At that point, nobody knows that she has so many secrets. She is a little mystery to everyone, and throughout the book they will find out that she has these secrets. They start to think she's too suspicious, and things start to get a little too suspicious. So yeah, at the end, all I want to say is that this book got me traumatized. I was just not expecting the ending of this book, so it really surprised me in a negative way. I mean that. So, but it doesn't mean it did not ruin the book, not for me. Even though it was not the perfect ending, that's why I think it's a bit even though it's a romance, it is not all about romanticizing things. Machado here, he basically has a little realistic thing going on because at the end of the book, something really realistic happens. So yeah, that's what I think makes this book the perfect balance. So those last books I just mentioned, both by Machado de Assis, are my favorite national books. So yeah, I think you should definitely read them if you are into reading. Guys, now I'm gonna jump on to international classic literature, which is another literature that I appreciate and that I haven't read much, but that I intend to. My favorite book, also by an international writer, is Felicidade Conjugal. This book is by Tolstoy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, so I'm sorry. He is Russian, alright? And I just love this book, guys. I read it recently, and it has simply become one of my favorite books so far because it's basically beautiful. It's so good. It's like reading a diary written by this girl, Maria. I don't know how to pronounce her name either. She basically takes you, reader, like back on time, and she tells about her childhood and the events that she lived as a teenager. It's like reading a diary, literally. I am more impressed by the way Tolstoy describes what goes through this girl's mind than the plot itself. But don't get me wrong, the plot is really good too. But I just think that Tolstoy has such an amazing ability to just describe people's mind, like their feelings, their emotions. He just manages to put those things into words. It is such a cozy reading experience as well, guys. It's like I read this faster than I normally do with other books because it really was captivating for me, to me, start to finish. And I just love this kind of little diary type of book where the writer just brings us so close to his life. It's like transparency, guys. This is the word I am looking for, transparency. They are being transparent. They are not hiding any feeling, not disguising anything. The girl here, she's not disguising anything. She's just being completely honest about her life as a young woman. She tells us everything, and I think that is amazing. This book also teaches the reader about reason versus emotion. It's always the sensible thing to do is always to choose reason over emotion, and that's what she does. It's like she's in a battle, it's like emotion fighting reason, and then at the end she manages to just be sensible and chooses reason. The next book is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I have never read too many books about suspense or thrillers or just mystery, but this one, I gotta say, guys, this one got me. It played me a fool because, Agatha just makes us assume that something is gonna end up a certain way, but it turns out to be the complete opposite, so she really can fool anyone. The story is basically a lot of people are invited to this house, which is located in an island, in the middle of nowhere, literally. They are all invited to the same place without their knowing that they're not the only ones. And once they get there, guys, a lot of crazy stuff takes place. First, they found out that they were deceived. Then a lot of people start to disappear out of thin air. And also, a lot of people start to die. So the question that the book presents to you, the conflict here is, who is doing all of this? Who is the guilty one? Who is causing so much chaos? And you don't know the answer. You think it's someone, but then it's not. Someone is succeeding to do all of these things without being caught. And that's the conflict on the book. Now the outcome is up to you to find out. And the next book is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It's a biography by this strong, intelligent little girl who just opens up and tells us about her life and how she overcome all the trauma that she went through as a child. She was orphaned, so she just tells us about her sad and disgraceful life, all the difficult stuff that she had to, experience, and how she just achieved a better life at the end. So it's not like a romance where nothing bad happens, because a lot of bad things happens in this book, and she gets to overcome all of it at the end. So I think the lesson that this book teaches me, is about perseverance and discipline, because Jane is a very disciplined girl, owing to the fact that she went to a very strict school, and there she learned to, just control herself because she has a very strong personality. And the education that she got at this school was responsible for shaping her entire mentality. And this book, guys, is a classic in English literature. So that is why I read it in the first place, because in fact, I was watching a video and this girl, she recommended this book as like an introduction to English literature. So I bought it and I read it. I recommend you if you want to, just get into literature. So everyone, this is it. These are my top 5 favorite books since I got into reading. I haven't read much in my life, but of all the books I've read, I find these particularly interesting and special to me. Thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video. Antes de terminar esse vídeo, a gente tem um recado para dar. Eu criei uma comunidade no WhatsApp de conversação em inglês, então se você tiver interesse, o link tá aqui na descrição. Tem duração de 2 meses e uma taxa de R$30, pagamento único. Então se tiver interesse, clica no link para você falar comigo e assim eu poder te colocar no grupo. Eu vou deixar esse link disponível por mais ou menos uma semana e depois eu já vou fechar ele. É isso, obrigado por assistir. Até o próximo vídeo.